Heavy or Not, Episode 50, the end of Season 1. Welcome back to Heavy or Not, the OG Swim Guide. I'm Coach Mark, and today we're going to do something a little different. This episode is your official tour of the archives, a full walkthrough of every episode we've dropped so far. Whether you're new here or a long-time listener who missed a few laps, this is your chance to catch up. We're covered a lot, from mental health to water polo, from coaching legends to tech tools. And trust me, this content is evergreen, still fresh. So grab a pen, open up your notes, and just hit download all from the button, and let's get started. Episode 1, Mindset for Sports. Kicked it off with a topic of every athlete and every coach needs to revisit mindset because mental reps matter. This episode gives you game-ready ways to train the space between your ears, just like you train your flip turns and your takeoffs. Episode 2, Kicking and Other Gems of Swimming. This one's for every coach you ever thought, well, why are the legs just not doing what we want them to do? Yeah, we've all been there. In this episode, we'll dive into the mechanics of kicking, just breathing and body position and stroke efficiency. And it's just not technique talk. It's about how to design better practices that actually build those skills. We break down progressive overload and swimming drills, and it's not just for weightlifters. And the coach swimmer communication game, balancing drills, full stroke sets. This episode's a gold mine of practical tweaks you can make right now in your workouts, especially if you're tired of saying the same cues and not seeing great results. Episode 3, Artificial Intelligence in the Future of Sport. We go full sci-tech and we make it swim coach friendly. This one's all about AI in sports. Not robots replacing coaches, but real practical ways AI can track performance in ways we never could with just a stopwatch, and customize training down to the individual stroke, and even help fans stay more engaged with a sport we love. But we don't ignore the hard stuff. We talk about ethics and equity and making sure tech helps at all levels, not just elite programs with big budgets. Because whether you're tech shy or tech curious, this episode preps you in the coaching world that's changing fast and giving you ideas to stay ahead of the curve. Episode 4, Revitalizing Aquatic Programs in Pittsburgh Public Schools. Yeah, this one comes close to the heart and hits close to home. We roll up our sleeves and get real about the challenges and the potential about aquatic education in Pittsburgh Public Schools, a big urban school district. Right now, too many kids just get 3 to 4 weeks of swim exposure all year. And in only a certain grade, pools sit underutilized and teachers are stretched. Facilities feel outdated and the whole system lacks an urgency and leadership from the top. But here's the good news. We have a blueprint for change, and it's already been put on the table. Game-based learning, SQUIM, anybody? Community partnership, and the case for Aquatics Czar, so that the older students can help guide the younger kids. And we can flip the whole model into something that's sustainable. The pools are already paid for, and more swimmers won't wear out the water. So grab this episode and your principal, and let's build something that floats together. Episode 5 was Cold War Secrets and Timeless Swim Wisdom, and we turned a European tour report into the content. It's a straight-up history lesson about coaching and meets and clinics, and it digs into the 1987 European tour by U.S. coaches Peter Daland and Ernie Magliszko. These two titans traveled to Romania and East Germany and uncovered techniques that were at the time next level and maybe even a little secretive. They brought back insights that helped reshape U.S. training philosophy, like why everyone cared so much about anabolic threshold and how the Romanians really trained. Pain was a feature, not a bug. Alternate breathing patterns of East Germans that they swore by, and periodization strategy that laid the groundwork for smarter intensity training. This episode connects the dots from Cold War innovation to what should be on your whiteboard today. You can also dive deeper via the full report at the LMS that we run with ISCA at read.sumisca.org. Episode 6 is the shortest one ever, driving and mentoring, and who gets the lead. This is short, just under 3 minutes. We start on the snowy road driving to the Pennsylvania State Championships, and then we drop a quote from a podcast by Dan Kennedy. Are you working or are you playing? Was the question. Or maybe you're doing both. We reflect on what it means to pursue excellence in a way where life, coaching, and passion all blur together. And then, the kicker, we challenge you to ask, who do you let influence yourself? Who's in your circle and who's allowed to be behind the wheel? This is a 2-minute listen and can shift your perspective about life. It's short, it's deep, it's worth a replay. Episode 7. How young is too young as far as lifting? This is perspectives from the Philippines about powerlifting. Now, this will make you pause and made me pause, and maybe it'll rethink your dryland routine. We hear from a coach from the Philippines talk about strength training for young athletes. He's seen 2-year-olds snatching barbells, and there was 9-year-olds competing on the national level in powerlifting abroad. Yeah, 9. We talk lifting from what ages to start, the national team prep, and how international standards like the IPA rules shape youth development. It's a cultural perspective and challenge that the U.S. waiting until high school mindset may not jive with. Because the swim coaches, we're in the performance business. And this episode gives you an eye-opening look at how the rest of the world is training, and sometimes way earlier than we are. Episode 8, it was a dive into the Competitive Swimmer magazine from Steve Freerank. Small tweaks, big gains. This is a coaching nerd's dream. It's a full rundown of an issue from Competitive Swimmer, which is packed tighter than a tech suit before finals. He asks why Southern California swimming ranks 37th out of the 59 LSCs for improvement, and what it says about the resources versus the results. The power of improvement-based coaching from Steve, and how it echoes John Wooden's legacy methods. Smart tweaks for underwaters, including the glute bridge exercises, over-unders, and serious video analysis. And fresh training techniques on isokinetics and collateral movements, and even VR swim simulations are talked about. And insights from Mark Schubert and Jim Richardson are detailed race breakdowns from the 2024 Olympics. It blends a street-smart coaching with a future-forward tools, and it gives practical sets and wisdom from some of the best minds in swimming. Hey, it's free, and read it before your practices. Episode 9 was a favorite of mine because it's about a recap of readings from the book of Coach Mark, Wit Wisdoms and Workout Truths. There's a book on the way, readings from the book of Coach Mark. Episode 10 is a review of a film called A Swim Lesson. You know, it is sort of a controversial film. It's a 20-minute documentary, and we talk about this with our guest coach, Barry Healy from Canada, and others about aquatic safety. We have an initial reaction, and it's as major safety concerns. We talk about better instructional practices instead, and trauma-free learning, and there's an industry letter to the Motion Picture Academy saying why this film should not be included into the Academy Award consideration. And it wasn't. We won. But the LA Times did a big number on this. Check out the film because there's a lot of talking points, and you and your staff could cover that in detail. Episode 11, Embracing Diversity in Coaching. This jump cut dives deep into inclusive coaching, spotlighting the unique needs of athletes with ADHD, autism, and other learning deficiencies. Coach Mark and Coach Barry share heartfelt stories and proven strategies that call for empathy driven education. Inclusive coaching, understanding neurodiversity, real world stories of Barry shapes a powerful moment with an autistic swimmer that he coaches and coaches him to a medal through calm guidance and trust and perseverance. And the swimmer also raised $77,000 for cancer research. So he's a superhero, building trust and celebrating strength, creative teaching tools, and cultural considerations. Global coaching practices must respect local norms, and what works in one country might not fly in another. So, how do we teach kids who see the world differently? In this episode of Heavy or Not, we explore inclusive strategies and celebrate unique swimmers and talk about real work of connections through sport because every kid deserves a coach who gets them. Episode 12 of Heavy or Not was about sports supplements. In this episode, we talked about an evolving world, but really, there were ancient remedies that are still being utilized today with modern sports enhancements. Talks about the federation and widespread use of supplements. More than 70% of athletes use some form of sports supplements, whether it's strength, recovery, endurance, or filling dietary gaps. There are two main categories of supplements: the macronutrients and the micronutrients. There's natural versus manufactured issues. There's risk and there's regulation. And then there's some herbal powerhouses. Snacking examples are given. In episode 12, we dig into the world of sports supplements, and I think you'll enjoy it. It sets the stage for episodes to come. Episode 13 was a review episode where we flash back, and there's some community call-outs throughout, of course. We also gave a peek in the thoughts from Wayne Goldsmith and the art of coaching. Well, we took a tour to the Galapagos Islands, and there was no cabin 13, but we have episode 13. Episode 14, Heavy or Not, Mastering the Mind. In this deep dive into mental performance, our team explores the psychology and physiological tools athletes use to unlock their potential with stories from an OG journey. Episode 15, Heavy or Not, was dedicated to Ernie McLeishko's coaching manual. We reimagined that with our podcast. He has a 2-volume set. Here we looked at on volume 2 called the Swim Coaches Primer. Dr. McLeishko sent along some new chapters and we blended that in. And so it is available now for resale, like swimming in syrup, the body position and rotation, the wave theory, active drag and measurement challenges, the backstrokes, third peak, foot turn and underwaters, stroke length and stroke rate, technique fixes, science-based coaching, and training specificity. And Dr. McLeishko is the go-to expert on almost all things related to strokes. Episode 16, From Mountains to Medals, the struggle of coaching and athletes on the road to glory. This episode dives into the grueling journey that coaches and athletes endure as we chase excellence, and we need to hit the road and travel. And there's a big cost on human performance and the art of training and traveling distances. We talked about Barry's challenges with travel, and listeners are invited to share your own journey about epic travel stories. Zombie coaches, ferry crossings, and all sorts of other things come into play when you're up in BC, Canada. Episode 17, Screens and social media, and a water polo rule that explains everything. Screen time. And there was a wonderful TED Talk about how much kids are using their phones and using screen time. And we just suggest that water polo players should not be on their mobile devices. So we're asking people to consider how the digital habits are being formed in your program. It's an interesting twist on technology. Then we jump to another tech topic episode 18, which was the moonshot. We talk about mentorship and why a coaching wizard could lead us in the future of learning about sport. Now, I put in for a grant for $50,000 in a local foundation situation called Remake Learning, and a couple months later, we learned that we didn't make the grade. We weren't funded. Some 200 proposals hit, and only 20 or so got funded. But Moonshot and what we could do with $50,000 and how it could be leveraged with AI and be able to impact our swimming seat. Episode 19, Coaching Today's Athlete. It was a review about the ownership and the mental health and the science of success and the teaching of why. And we explored how evolving attitudes and technology are reshaping coaching perspectives from mental health and long term development. Coaches discuss balancing high quality versus high yardage, and we had an expert panel. Episode 20 continues that discussion about mindful swimming with Brian Holiday, and we pick up some earth-shattering instances with regards to the continued discussion. But in this episode, you also hear from Brent Arkey, and we'll hear about motivational time standards. We'll talk about endurance over speed. We hear from Dr. G, Mark Schubert, and coaches at Texas were involved in there, Carol Capitani and Bob Bowman. Episode 21 was about travel troubles again. Barry faced more travel woes up in BC with housing shortages, parking nightmares, and attending international meet. Not so easy. Is it worth it for every kid to go there? And can swimming become compulsory? You can't canoe or surf or attend school trips without basic swimming skills. So, hey, let's push to make this a standard. Episode 22 is about coaching chaos and civic leadership and why swimming must be more compulsory. We're back with some logistics in lodging and sports as prevention of some social ills. Swimming isn't just recreation, it's public safety, it's youth engagement, and it's violence prevention. And there are such things as gangs and positive gangs, and that's what we lead as coaches and with our teams. Episode ends with some rapid fire questions for would be high school coaches. If you're going to go in for a coaching interview, or if you're going to conduct an interview to hire new coaches, you might want to refresh and look at some of these questions. That hotel prices are way too high for people that are on the roads so often. Jump into episode 23. We had reflections from three diverse wave makers. Bob Pratt gave a fond farewell. And Bob Pratt has a swimming legacy, and he's done a course that we replay inside our learning management system called the Water Safety Jam. Check it out at readswimiska.org. We took a snippet, and I want to promote the Unfiltered Waters podcast. Katina Hozik from Hungary is interviewed, a fabulous interview. And then Dr. G talked about aerobic development. And this sort of sets the stage for discussions about the 50 strokes being part of the Olympic expansion. They're going to add the 50 fly, 50 back, 50 breast to go along with the 50 free. And some people are over the moon about that. And I think it's a good idea, but we should do a pentathlon in the Olympics. I think it'd be fabulous. We talk about it in here. Episode 24 is about a power shift, about an Olympic expansion, aerobic imperatives, and pool closures. So we're talking about LA 28 and those 50 events. But there's some aerobic alarm bells that Dr. G warns about. And it's about early specialization. Other countries are doing other things with this. And closing a pool can save a little money. But what are the social costs? And we need some action. And there's a mental health sneak peek because on the next episode, episode 25, talks about mental health for student athletes. It's a two-parter. Understanding the whys for student athlete, and Jay Dar was part of a presentation hosted at the big Penguin facility, the Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL. So a lot of their experts in sports psychology came and presented to many coaches and athletic directors from Western Pennsylvania. And we talked about all sorts of matters regarding mental health, injury, identity, and the language we use, and putting mindfulness into some action. That goes on episode 25. And episode 26 is part two of that discussion where we recognize red flags. We talk about the ACT framework, where there you acknowledge and you collect information and then you take steps. And it gives us a bit of a framework of a mental health playbook. And we talked about social media strain, especially the college athletes folks. And we talked about coach ready tactics. And I do a call out if you have a mascot. Episode 27, it's more than just rest, it's about deep sleep. And you can't out train bad sleep. You'll just train slower and get grumpier versions of yourself. Part of a superpower outlined and described in a book by Dr. John Heil. Episode 28 talked about culture, character, and about your team culture. The mantra is straight from the Swim Coach's Starter Guide, which is a book that's reviewed, available online. Episode 29 of Heavy or Not talks about the script and screenplay for the book, Mental Skills for Young Athletes. I think it's a fabulous opportunity, and it comes straight from the main guide written by PhD sports psychologist from Canada, John Hogue. I think this is a great way to get the thespians, the actors, and the role play really jazzing up your program. There's 10 wonderful chapters. It's about mental skills. Episode 30, The Myth of the Young Champions, and how college sports cuts are making heartbreaking impacts upon athletes. So we give another Wayne Goldsmith rant, and it's a punchy jump cut, and it talks about the myth of the 8 and 9-year-old athletes. And then we go over the heartbreak of the Cal Poly swimming teams and their cut. And also, Grand Canyon University lost its men's volleyball program. Episode 31 is riding the waves of mentorship, coaching, culture, and weathering the storm. It begins with navigating life's storms. Coach Jim Lutz, he's an OG now in Arizona. And the storms are not the same for everyone, but there's a way to show up and there's a way to make it work. And we get into setting the stage because Jim Lutz's book is featured in episode number 32, Loyalty as a Foundation and Recruiting the Right Fit, Developmental Strategies, Responsibility and Integrity, and Mastering Time Management. It's a simple yet powerful book. It's very affordable. Episode number 33 is about the CDC layoffs, AI tools, and a graduation speech. Episode 34, At the Table or Not. This is about power and purpose in sport, and Barry Healy speaks about closed swimming pools. They're looking at closing more than 30 community swimming pools in Toronto, in one city. Hey, these pools aren't luxuries. Okay, they're lifelines for drowning prevention, for health equity, and for youth development. It's important that coaches show up and help to lead these discussions. Episode 35 is about sports injury and recovery. I throw this out dedicated to a nephew, Joe, who had a lot of shoulder pain. They had surgery, boom, but it really helped. So it talks about physical pain and its emotional impact, about the psychology of the healing, and how you want to approach things from there are lessons beyond the pool. And this pain and recovery is for any athlete. The swimmers have the shoulder pain, but all sorts of people are going to face with pain in their lives. And this talks about the psychology of injury and how that can impact us and how we can help to overcome. What builds better athletes and better coaches, and better communities, better programs, and more resilience among us all. This season, we're trying to find our voice. I would love to have your feedback.
We started with a whistle and a waterproof pen. Talked about coaching and what it means to men. From lap lanes to leadership roles, it's more than splits, it's shaping souls. Heavy or not, we swam through it all. Tech teamwork, healing after the fall. With water's wisdom, coaches stand tall. Heavy or not, we surf life's call. When pools were shuttered, the mission got loud. Equity, safety, we challenged the crowd. Talked about strokes and swimming with grace, and bringing joy back to the training space. Olympic twists and event design, we questioned progress and drew the line. How much yardage is too much pain? Let's train for health and long-term gain. Mental reps and taper plans, we cheer the tryhards and quiet fans. Hyperbaric dreams and rescue gear, kept it real but kept it clear. From honeybees to IL games, to lost facilities and shifting lanes. Tech tools, balance, burnout fears, the OG swim guide through 50 years. Heavy or not, we stayed in the lane. Shared the stories, shared the pain. From pool deck shatter to tech and rain. Heavy or not, we coach again.
From open water adrenaline to wild swims, AI-powered coaching to emotional rescue stories, and outright reform calls, from the biggest names in swimming, these episodes refine what a swimming podcast can be. Don't just listen, binge, because each one hits harder than the prior lap. So number 36 was a rewind. Heavy or not ranges from drowning prevention to politics to fiscal survival for your pool, AI saves, environmental advocacy, heroic rescues, athlete money drama. These episodes don't just educate, they ignite urgency. You don't want to miss a single one. Number 38 was navigating the complexities of drowning prevention and a changing political climate, part 2. So we went into the real struggles of keeping communities safe with shrinking budgets, political indifference, COVID lingering effects, raising the stakes on who learns to swim and who drowns. A timely look into budget cuts, political indifferences. Number 39, experience the adventure of open water swimming with ISCA's festivals and stroke countings. Hey, the roar of ISCA's most daring open water festivals where endurance meets strategy. It's a family-friendly chaos and stroke counting secrets from the pros. Episode 40 explored sustainable pool models, subsidies versus private sector innovation. When municipal pools stagger at the brink of collapse, watch Mick and Sue serve up bold survival blueprints, fitness-first programming, smart partnerships, and financial hustle. Episode 41, Saving Grace, Kayakers Rescue School Equity and AI that listens. In a single punch, a teen saves a life. The school faces equity balance and drowning prevention pivots, and AI learns to translate accents in real time. Humanity and tech collide. Episode 42, the Thames swimmers in the pump plan saving their sanctuary when the swimmers near London learn of a sewage dumping plan in their sacred pool, their sacred river. They rise. This episode's about advocacy and anger and water justice all in one. Number 43 was about the flood trauma, bee biology, and the enhanced gains, and some health hacks. So this electrifying jump cut had emotional stories. Hey, the bee dietary drama and performance ethics scandals. NRF2 health sparks. It's unexpected, but it's riveting. Episode number 44 was about an AI buyout, dragons and hyperbaric lifelines. From a scrappy AI startup's $1 million exit to near drowning survival, this path to recovery through a hyperbaric therapy. It's grief, triumph, tech disruption, all wrapped together. Number 45 was about wild swimming in Scotland, emotions, ecosystems, and that act of framework. Wild swimming isn't just sport, it's sisterhood, it's nature therapy, and political resilience. Explore 4 swimmer personas and how Radiolab's story cracks your heart wide open. Episode 46 was about AI in sport, the silent coach that never blinks. AI isn't a tool, it's more like a silent coach. Discover how machine precision is overtaking old school instincts and reshaping biomechanics, talent spotting, and even tech acquisition. Episode 47, we talked about freedom, we talked about coaching, the NIL, and the real meaning of growth. An athlete picks cash over development. This episode tears open the NIL, coaching ethics, and what true growth actually costs in character and opportunity. Number 48 was about Dr. Tom's Avatar app, the lifeguarding training on your phone. Hey, it took 8 years, but Dr. Tom delivered an avatar-driven free app that stimulates drowning emergency, saving lives, not your wallets, but facilities can budget for it too. And episode 49 called out to USA Swimming's leadership from Michael Phelps and gold medal Mel Stewart. They dropped the hammer on USA Swimming and leadership failures, athlete neglect, and they offer a bold 3-point blueprint for radical reform. Hey, you can't skip a single lap and energize on that listening.
You started with a whistle and a waterproof pen. Talked about coaching and what it means to men. From lap lanes to leadership roles, it's more than splits, it's shaping souls. Heavy or not, we swam through it all, through it all. Tech teamwork, healing after the fall, yeah, the fall. With water's wisdom, coaches stand tall, yeah, tall. Heavy or not, we surf life's call. When pools were shuttered, the mission got loud, yeah, loud. Equity, safety, we challenged the crowd, yeah, loud. Talked about strokes and swimming with grace and bringing joy back to the training space, yeah, Olympic twists and event design, we questioned progress and drew the line. How much yardage is too much pain? Let's train for health and long-term gain. mental reps and tapered plans. We cheered the tryhards and quiet vans. Hyperbaric dreams and rescue gear kept it real but kept it clear. From honeybees to NL games, to lost facilities and shifting lanes. Tech tools, balance, burnout fears, the OG swim guide through 50 years. Heavy or not, we stayed in the lane. Share the story, share the pain. From pool deck chatter to tech and rain. Heavy or not, we coach again.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for passing the word. Thanks for comments. Have a wonderful, safe time at the pool.